going to start seeing more billboards like that all over San Diego. Why local leaders want to stop offshore drilling.
The Larry Millete murder trial could be delayed again as his defense attorneys are now accusing the deputy district attorney of prosecutorial misconduct.
San Diego Padres are in Mexico City to take on the Arizona Diamondbacks, but on their lone day off, they're giving back to the community. A report from Mexico City coming up.
Not just a teacher, but an advocate for students with special challenges. We honor Miss Alicia as this month's Classroom Hero.
A coalition of activists and local leaders is drawing a line in the sand tonight, fighting back against a federal plan to open California's coastline to oil drilling. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
And I'm Anna Laurel. The group Wild Coast is leading the charge. News 8's Alex Cheney reports from Claremont with the message they're trying to get out and how they're doing it.
And those local leaders came together this afternoon to say they want to protect California's natural beauty. These are the billboards that you're going to start to see all over San Diego. They say stop offshore drilling. Here's more. You're going to see more billboards like this all over San Diego. The group Wild Coast, state and national representatives, and the San Diego City Council all coming together today to oppose the federal government's plan to allow offshore drilling leases in California for the first time since 1984.
We are saying in one collective voice, stay the hell away from California's coast.
This month, the Trump administration invoked emergency powers under the Defense Production Act to allow new leases for offshore drilling, citing skyrocketing fuel prices during the Iran conflict. The proposed National Outer Continental Shelf Oil and Gas Leasing Program would last until 2031 and identifies 34 potential new lease sites, with 6 of them off the California coast and 3 in Southern California, but were not specific on where. The Trump administration has also ordered the restart of a Santa Barbara pipeline that was shut down after an oil spill in 2015 that released 140,000 gallons of crude oil into the ocean.
100% chance of oil spills, and we can't have that happen, especially in San Diego. Imagine La Jolla Cove filled with oil. That would be a complete disaster.
On Thursday, State Senator Catherine Blakespear introduced Senate Joint Resolution 12 that would require the federal government to hold public hearings and comment in California before allowing any new offshore drilling leases.
Drilling off the California coast will not lower prices for consumers. Prices are set by global market conditions. They are not set by local production.
In January, the San Diego City Council unanimously passed a resolution to ban oil and gas exploration off the San Diego coast.
To protect our natural resources and our beaches and bays, not just for today, but for future generations.
And California Governor Gavin Newsom has also said he opposes the plan and that he will use every tool that he has to protect California's coastline. I'm Alex Cheney, News 8.
Thanks, Alex. Meantime, a bipartisan group of lawmakers is sounding the alarm over the state's shaky fuel future.
In a letter to the Energy Commission, they're pressing for answers and fast. State Matters political reporter Jenny Ha breaks down what's at stake and the key questions now on the table.
Well, this effort is beyond the politics. The Bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus sent out the letter saying even legislators don't know if California has months, weeks, or days worth of fuel in-house.
We are demanding an emergency plan to deal with this fuel crisis.
California may not be prepared for a short-term fuel crisis, and the public deserves to know the truth.
California legislators demanding answers from the state's energy leaders. How many days worth of supply does California have for gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel?
Because today, legislators and the public don't know if we have weeks of supply or days of supply.
In a letter to the California Energy Commission and Air Resources Board, legislators say California's economy and military and emergency response readiness are all at risk, given dwindling in-state oil drilling and refining capacity and increased reliance on foreign imports.
We continue to be vulnerable to gasoline and jet fuel shortages as California relies on imports of refined gasoline and crude oil.
What makes the situation trickier? For decades now, California has had a special, more environment-friendly gasoline blend only our refineries and certain other countries can produce. Countries now impacted by the war in the Middle East.
India, Singapore, South Korea, and China. Their ability to make fuel has been severely impacted, and it directly impacts us.
Asked about the letter, a CEC spokesperson says California will have enough gasoline through May. What happens after that is still unclear. The agency says it anticipates increased imports in June as the market adapts to the war in Iran and refining resumes in the Asian countries from which we import. CEC says California has ample diesel and that high costs are a result of the global market, not a state supply issue. On jet fuel, CEC says while California, like the global market, is experiencing a shortage with the war in the Middle East, fuel supply remains sufficient.
If the state has a plan, show it. If there are thresholds, define them. If there are risks, be honest about them. Because gas isn't a luxury in California. It's how people get to work.
And the price of the fuel doubles and triples, and then everything else, food and everything, goes up correspondingly with all of these prices. People are suffering. People are suffering big time.
Governor Newsom's office says they're aware of the letter. A spokesperson says, quote, the ill-prepared war with Iran by President Trump and Republicans in Congress are fueling higher gas prices. The office also says the CEC is working with members of the governor's state agencies to assess near-term risks and options on fuel supply. Jenny Ha, News 8.
Californians will get to decide on a proposal to add new voter ID and citizenship requirements. The Secretary of State says the initiative did gain enough signatures to appear on the November ballot. If approved, it would need to show a government-issued ID at the polls or provide identifying information when voting by mail. The state would also be required to issue voter ID cards. Voting rights groups warn the changes could make it harder to vote and lower turnout.
Firefighters are mopping up a brush fire that briefly threatened some buildings in Oceanside. This is at Oceanside Boulevard in Rancho del Oro, just down the street from Front Wave Arena. Now, this is an earlier view of that fire from Chopper 8. Shelter-in-place orders were given to a nearby senior center and surrounding apartments as crews worked to clear the scene. Those orders are now lifted. We're told the fire burned about 10 acres. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and right now there is no word yet on what started all of this. Another twist in the Larry Millete murder trial. His defense attorneys are now accusing the prosecutor on the case of misconduct, and they're calling for the California Attorney General's office to step in.
News 8's Kelly Hessedal breaks down the allegations and shares what the state attorney general's office is saying tonight.
That's right. And California Attorney General Rob Bonta just added his voice to the conversation today, basically saying there's no evidence of misconduct. Therefore, there's no reason for the AG's office to get involved. So it's now up to a judge to decide what happens next. But here's a closer look at the allegations. In this 29-page motion, Larry Milliete's defense team accuses Deputy District Attorney Christy Bowles of multiple violations, including eliciting false testimony at the preliminary hearing and introducing evidence they claim she knew was illegal.
They're trying to say that there was prosecutorial misconduct because the prosecutor in this case did not vet / cross-examine / investigate the testifying witnesses.
Millete is accused of murdering his wife Maya, who disappeared in January of 2021. Her body has never been found, but prosecutors say the evidence points to foul play. In this new filing, the defense argues Deputy DA Bowles is too personally invested in the case to be impartial. They also take aim at Chula Vista investigators, accusing them of giving false testimony and downplaying an affair between Maya and a co-worker. The defense team wants the judge to remove Bowles and the entire DA's office from the case and bring in a prosecutor from the California Attorney General's office instead. Legal expert Gretchen Von Helms.
How much of a long shot is this effort?
It's typically a difficult motion to be granted because you have to show evidence that the prosecutor knew that the witnesses were lying. So I don't know if they'll be able to show that.
Meanwhile, California Attorney General Rob Bonta weighed in this afternoon. In a 15-page response, his office says the defense has not met its burden to show the San Diego DA's office has a conflict of interest. The filing also calls disqualifying an entire office, quote, an extreme step, pointing out there are hundreds of prosecutors in San Diego County, and the defense would have to show that anyone assigned to this case would be improperly influenced. So at this point, the judge will have to decide whether or not to remove the prosecutor from the case or the entire DA's office from the case. And if he decides to do that, this trial could be delayed for quite some time. Meanwhile, I did get a statement from the San Diego District Attorney's Office this afternoon saying this is, quote, just another maneuver by the defense to shift the focus from the murder of Maya Millete to baseless attacks on the DA team, which is seeking justice for Maya. Kelly Hessedal, News 8.
Thank you, Kelly. A big blow to a key part of President Trump's immigration agenda.
We've got those details still ahead, plus a new pilot program aiming to speed up border crossings for some college students.
And the Padres spend their day off giving back to the Mexico City community ahead of a weekend series there against the Diamondbacks.
Already starting to see those clouds roll in. We are gearing up for a weekend where we do have a chance for some wet weather, but it's not going to be a total washout during the daylight hours. Hint, hint. We'll take a look at your complete forecast coming up.